Hey Clifton, I was looking at a couple of your proposals and I wanted to make sure you're aware of a couple things because I think we can make them look a little bit better. I just want to make sure, because you weren't here for the initial kind of training on this, that you knew some options were available to you. So I thought we'd pick one of the proposals that you've recently done to look at. And it's this one. So I have it open in WD Quick Proposal. So one of the things to do is, if you want to see what this is going to look like to the client through the client viewer, it should look relatively the same. But you can always push this button right here that says client viewer, and it'll open in another tab what the client will see. Right, and here's WD Quick Proposal. One of the cool things that Chrome just added was you can hold control down, click click, so you have both these tabs selected, then right click and say add split view to current tab. Now you see both the tabs at the same time. So the cool thing about this now is if I make any changes in here, so let's say, I put, XXXX on this one, and then I save it. When I hit save, you're going to see it show up over here, right? So we can see what it looks like in the viewer. Like I said, it should look the same, but I like to check them in the viewer just to make sure everything's looking like it's supposed to. So let's change that back. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is, because I know we're doing some really long descriptions now, you can put line feeds in the descriptions if you want to, if it makes it a little bit easier to read. Like let's say, for example, let's go down to this long one right here. So let's say we want to put highly recommended for composite decking options on its own line. If you hit F2, this is like Excel. If you click on a cell, you're not really editing yet. So if you use the arrow keys, you'll move from cell to cell. But if you hit F2, you can see up in the right hand corner, it shows you what key I hit. That puts you in editing mode for this cell. See how it made the line dashed around this now? That puts you in editing mode. So now if I move and then you can use your arrow keys to move the cursor around like normal. And if I move here and then hit enter, see how to put that on a separate line? I could even put an extra line feed in there if I wanted to, right? And then if we save this, by the way, saving, if you want a quick way, you just hit Control S. And then you'll see it changed it on the viewer here. So it's got this line feed and stuff in here. All right. And then I changed the description to kind of match what you've put in here. So you were putting this description that's a little more, a little more forceful, letting them know that options don't replace base costing. So I put that same kind of verbiage in this note so you don't have to put this in here anymore. Also, I increased the spacing that it shows when it's just a divider item here. So basically you can take all this out. So again, if I hit F2 and then I hit like Control Home, I can take out all of this. And then we can also take out this one. So it just shows decking options. So I think that looks a little cleaner. You can see what they look like side by side here, right? We've got a divider in here, but then instead of having this big giant thing here. And of course, if I save it, if I hit the save button or hit Control S, you'll see it show up over here to look the same. So again, I would take that out of all these. But if you did want to put like something in here to make it, if it's not apparent enough, now you could put a line feed in here. You could put these, because what happens is you guys are trying to guess how many of these dashes it needs to do a wrap to the next line. But when you do that on some devices, it looks really bad because it doesn't wrap correctly, right? So if you do this and actually put a line feed in, then it doesn't matter how many you have. It's gonna work out right. So if we save this, you'll see in the viewer it's gonna look like that, right? And you don't have to guess how many are gonna need to be in there. But if it were me, I would take those out completely and just save it and have it look like this. So, and I think you can do that with all of them. F2 to edit, delete the whole line. This green one is in the description, and you can still use the description too. So if you say railing options, you want to put an additional, smaller font to say, please select, if I can spell, one of the optional rails. Right, you can put that in there, and you know, that may give that. I think that looks a little bit nicer than what you've got over here with these, where it's got all these dashes in here. And like I said, if I look at this on my phone and stuff, the font's a little bit different, so some of these dashes wrap to the other line and that kind of type of thing. So just keep that in mind. You can do that. You can put in, you know, you can put in line feeds in these. You have to hit, you know, you have to get into editing mode to where it has the dash line around it. You can either hit F2, or if you start typing something in there, and then the up and down arrows are going to work correctly. And then, you know, you can put this on a separate line if you want to. And of course, you have to balance this with, you know, the thing starts getting really long and taking up a lot of space. If you put picture frame decking, where was that? Under my decking options. Here it is. If we start putting a bunch of line feeds in here in white space, I mean, it can make it more readable for the client, but of course it's going to make it longer and a lot more scrolling too, you know, especially if you're looking at it on a phone or, you know, a smaller screen. I think that is it. You know, so these are more prominent now, the dividers, so we can take all those dashes out of there, and you can put in line feeds. So just use that to your advantage and make them look a little better.